Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Tuesday, September 19th, 2023. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread for today? First card we are starting our day off with today is the 10 of Pentacles in its reversal. So dealing with some feelings of disorder. This could be disordered thoughts, disordered situations. As I mentioned, for the energies right now that are in partnership, there has been a lot of issues that are happening, but a lot of those issues are not necessarily even related right now to the partnership in question, but a lot of the outside situations and circumstances that are taking a toll on the relationships at this time. This could be a lot of trying to navigate and mitigate some of these feelings of disorder at this moment. A lot of attention potentially paid to anything that you feel needs this point of adjustment and alignment. Now, for the masculine and feminine energy that is working in partnership at this time, this could be that work that you are both putting into practical application in trying to come into some sense of order. We've identified that there has been a lot of these circumstances that have been impacting the partnered energies outside of the relationship, and we're seeing that coming into play today. This could even be some of that shelved energy that we saw yesterday, having a point of easement that is now coming back up to the surface. While for masculine and feminine energy that is not in partnership right now, this is also dealing with some sense or level or degree of frustration related to your immediate sphere of influence. There may be some feelings right now, some of this blowback that we're still seeing coming out of this Mercury retrograde cycle that needs to be adjusted or corrected or amended for, taking some of your time and attention today. Second card we have coming through right now in our 5-card spread for today is 2 cards coming out in that play. We have here our Page of Pentacles in combination with our 2 of Swords. For masculine and feminine, this will feel a bit different, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. Masculine right now, we are seeing that today is a day that you'll be putting a lot of concerted effort potentially into coming over or overcoming any of these feelings of confusion or disorder that are potentially around you right now. There may be a lot of work right now in the level or degree of trying to put a lot of this hard work into some situations or scenarios right now that you feel are becoming a little bit too confusing or overwhelming. This could even be for the masculine energy right now, supporting the feminine in this capacity to help come into the state or place of easement. Feminine right now, we are not necessarily seeing you taking as much as of an immediate role at this time in the partnership. This, I need to stress, is more of a continuation of what we saw was occurring last week as it relates to some of the partnered energies, because what were we seeing that was causing some point of friction right now in the partnered energies? We did see the fact that at one point last week with the partnered energies, there was something where the masculine wanted to kind of move forward, potentially even jump the gun on some things. Feminine energy wanted to wait. They wanted to be more conservative as it relates to how to address or navigate some things right now. What we appreciate right now is while that is still effectively happening in some way, shape, or form right now, we are also recognizing and seeing the fact that this is feeling like this is more of a collaborative energy that is coming into play right now. This isn't necessarily masculine effectively moving forward on their own right now and feminine energies trying to pull them back or get them to catch up. Rather, we see the fact that masculine energy is observing the feminine energy in this space or place of stillness, and they are trying to contribute ideas, possibilities, opportunities, and this is what we like to see in terms of some of that adjustment. This is showing that some of that friction work that we saw that happened potentially last week in partnership is coming into a better sense of productivity, because these 2 energies are collaborating even though they may have different plans or courses of action at this time. We also noticed yesterday for the energies that were in partnership that masculine spent a good portion of yesterday potentially coming up with ideas. We did recognize for the masculine partnership right now that there was some feeling of compromise that was coming into play. And masculine, this is feeling like a level or degree that feels bittersweet enough that even right now you're trying to find something that you feel would not necessarily be as much of a compromise to you at this moment. But again, we appreciate the fact that that's all to come into a space of easement as it relates to some situations or circumstances that may be feeling like they're becoming too difficult or confusing. Feminine, we see this as becoming more of a passive role today, that you're again kind of sitting back, observing, so that you can decide the correct course of action going forward. Now, for the masculine and feminine energy that are not in partnership at this time, this is a lot of this continuation that we've been seeing in the cards over the last few days, ever since we got out of that Venus in retrograde cycle. cycle still coming into play. Masculine energy here, and we have to appreciate this. For the masculine energy right now that has been going through some of these points of transformation, we're seeing that there is something here about you holding very firm in terms of what you're offering the feminine at this time. This is one of those moments that we see that for the energy that's been going through this, yesterday may have felt like a bit more of a triggering day. I warned yesterday to be very careful not to move from a space of being triggered. But we see here that this is a bit more of a leveling off point. Masculine energy is effectively externalizing some of that chaotic feeling that you were feeling yesterday in beyond and outside of the self. And this is what is allowing you right now to be able to come towards the feminine with something that feels like a stable and solid offer right now. The difficulty and hurdle is, again, potentially still seeing the feminine in this moment or at this point where they aren't necessarily moving towards what you are offering them. They're using a certain level and degree of observation and intuition to assess and understand what this offer is, what you're putting forth. We've identified right now that the feminine energy is being very cautious and careful to make sure that the masculine energy is coming towards them from a state or space of authenticity. This is more of the feminine energy holding in that vibration. We recognize this especially too because we see that this is the feminine energy yesterday trying to maintain a very heightened level or degree of emotional balance through some triggering situations and circumstances. We see feminine is basically holding firm in terms of that level of vibration. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Center card for our 5-card spread is, we have here our 3 of Wands in its reversal. There is something here that feels like a point of frustration, and that has to do with what to do going forward from here for both masculine and feminine energy. What we are really seeing right now is there is something here that feels like there's some outside situations or circumstances that are creating some level or degree of chaos or flux or circumstances that need to be addressed. And the problem around some of these is not only are they creating issues in the immediate space, but they're having some impact in terms of your own ability to plan going forward. Masculine and feminine energy that are working in partnership at this time. This could be a lot of work that you're effectively doing right now to overcome some of these blockages, to be able to kind of build more of a clearance space for yourself, to really recognize and see what things are going to look like as you go beyond this point. For this energy, though, we also see that there is something that is a little challenging and triggering that could even be coming up right now for the energies that are in partnership. Because while masculine may be feeling like they're trying to put very practical solutions to some problems right now, masculine may start to feel like there is some point of frustration right now towards the feminine that isn't necessarily activating on them with the same speed that the masculine would prefer. Feminine is more just utilizing what the masculine is bringing forth to them as a point of observation today. So a little bit of potential friction in this energy, but I feel like this friction is coming into a space or place of productivity because it is trying to clear up this path that feels like a blockage point. Now, for the masculine and feminine energy that is not in partnership right now, this is feeling like a little bit more of a triggering space. We see and that because, again, for the feminine energy, there is a moment of effectively holding firm in terms around some circumstances or situations. Feminine is not necessarily in a space or place where they're really activating on something right now. They're just kind of observing. They're allowing this to be a moment where they're building their own sense of logic and intuition as it relates to making sure to take the necessary next steps. Feminine's being very cautious in this degree towards the masculine energy. The problem is, it's still creating a bit of an impasse between these two energies because while there may be an observation that this is occurring, and masculine, you could even be identifying and seeing this in the feminine right now, it doesn't necessarily lead to some productive space in terms of what comes on beyond this. And so this is that bit of like a moment right now where masculine is waiting on feminine to be able to make a choice, to be able to make some productive path going forward. Feminine is at a point where they're necessarily potentially not ready to. They're still at a point of assessing what the masculine is bringing forth to them at this point. And it is a little bit more of this impasse energy. And unfortunately, it is creating a little sense of overriding chaos right now for both the masculine and feminine that is experiencing this. Because it's not just the fact that it's not giving any sense about what can kind of come forward from this point, but it's also creating a sense of chaos in the immediate present moment. Now, 4th card for our 5-card spread for today is We have here the Moon card. So there's some situations and circumstances right now that for both masculine and feminine, the difficulty or issue is feeling like there are some unknown variables at play that are creating some blockages at this moment. Particularly for the energies right now that are in partnership, this is trying to get to the bottom of some sort of circumstances and situations that you're both mutually trying to navigate at this time. We're even seeing right now that you may be feeling, as we saw, there's been some issues around some of the outside energy around you at this time. This has been creating some sense of confusion. You are trying to navigate this. You're trying to see this path forward. Unfortunately, there is potentially a mutual feeling right now of not necessarily having everything that you need right now in order to be able to do something that feels like it is productive. There could be a lot of work right now in trying to get to the bottom of some circumstances and situations that you feel that you need some level or degree of clarity on at this time. For the masculine and the feminine energy in partnership right now, this is a bit of that joint work that you may be putting into practice right now, trying to get a deeper understanding of what is potentially going on that is creating some sort of blockage at this moment. This is feeling very much like an externalized problem right now for the energies that are in partnership. While for the masculine and the feminine energy that is not in partnership, this is effectively having to overcome those uncertainties around the companionate energy. Feminine is effectively utilizing their powers of observation right now, assessing what masculine is putting forth to them, specifically because the feminine has some anxiety about the unknowns. Feminine isn't necessarily moving forward right now in terms of taking some of the offers that masculine's bringing forth to them right now, specifically because the feminine feels like they don't have the full clarity and optics around situations and circumstances right now. For the feminine, trying to get that point of understanding is going to be vital and valuable right now to really understand whether the feminine is going to go forward in accepting some of these offers from masculine at this moment. This could be feminine even again, asking these difficult questions, potentially probing, trying to get a deeper understanding to build that sense of confidence going forward. Masculine, we are also seeing that you yourself are also trying to have this deeper understanding towards the feminine right now. But this may, again, we keep hitting a bit of this barrier or a bit of this wall right now between the masculine and the feminine energy, because there is something right now potentially happening related to the feminine asking these questions or moving in this way that is creating a bit of a blocker in terms of what masculine wants to effectively talk about or be open with related to the energy of the feminine at this point. So we're hitting more of that hurdle right now where masculine is approaching feminine, feminine is asking questions, masculine is feeling that point of resistance in terms of coming to an open and honest answer. This could even be situations and circumstances that are very difficult for the masculine energy to discuss. But it's also the point that the masculine is potentially recognizing that if you're not able to come into this space of openness with the feminine, there may not necessarily be any possibility of something productive coming forward in the wake of this situation. Final card for our 5-card spread before we start getting clarification on these cards right now is, we like to see this. This is the clearing up of the blockage. We love to see this card in combination with our 3 of Wands, because what we're really effectively seeing at this time is the fact that there is a mutual feeling right now that there's going to be some point of success going forward after you overcome whatever this blockage is. For the feminine energy right now, there could even be this point of recognition and understanding and clarification that you are bringing to masculine at this time. Almost saying, if you are able to give me this clarity and clear up this blockage for me, then there will be something productive that can happen going forward from this point. But the feminine is effectively holding their ground to a certain level or degree and saying, but it has to come from a space of openness. It has to come from a space of authenticity. There has to be a clearing up of what is not understood if there's going to be a successful outcome around some situations and circumstances, if there's going to be a productive path forward. Now, the difficulty right now for the masculine, you recognize this. You effectively see this right now if you're not in partnership. You've got full optics and understanding here that there's something a bit related to what the feminine energy is asking for from you right now that will immediately allow for a path going forward. The problem, masculine, is we see that you are very resistant, very reluctant to be able to open up to that level or degree. It's something that is creating a challenge point for you at this moment. We even see masculine energy that you're trying to ask yourself at this moment, how open and honest can you be? There's a lot of vulnerability that's effectively being put on the table here. And one of the challenges that's effectively happening right now for the masculine that is feeling this is having to struggle between what you want to put forth to feminine at this time versus what you effectively want to hold back. This is that blockage point because feminine is effectively at that point where they are kind of insisting that you come forward to a deeper level, and the masculine is now at a point where you're feeling some of that resistance. For some of the masculine today, this is going to be opening up in that level and degree to be able to clear that hurdle or blockage. For the other part of the masculine energy, this may be something that feels like a no area. This is something that you're not feeling ready to. This is more of that journey that we saw yesterday coming through for the masculine and feminine as it relates to having a point where the masculine is looking at something that is allowing for a point of transformation, or it's leading to a point of the continuation of the journey that we saw with the Fool card. Feminine, holding their ground on this. Feminine is just staying very focused in terms of this. Feminine energy is making no movement in feeling like they need to react to anything at this time. They're just basically staying in the same position. Now, for masculine and feminine energy in partnership at this moment, what we're effectively seeing is the fact that there is something that is coming through right now for masculine and feminine, where you are both working in partnership to try to navigate some external situations that you do not feel like you have the full optics on. Getting that clarity today is going to be a lot of the major catalyst in terms of trying to build something that's going to allow for a more productive path going forward. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now between our 10 of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our 2 of Swords in combination with our Page of Pentacles. So, masculine and feminine energy, navigating some circumstances and situations that are creating some issues, that are creating some hurdles, or creating some difficulties, not necessarily even related to the partnership itself, but potentially a lot of outside circumstances and situations coming into play today. For the masculine and the feminine energy that is in partnership right now, it isn't necessarily, it's kind of this moment right now that is requiring a level of degree of observing some of this chaotic energy. Feminine is taking a much more latent, laid back approach today on this, almost wanting to utilize some time and some point of observation to be able to determine how to move forward best. Masculine is trying to come forward right now with a lot of practical applications. Not in partnership at this moment, what we're effectively seeing is that the feminine energy is again holding their ground. They're staying in a point or position, even through some situations and circumstances that are creating some space or place of difficulty or frustration for them. Not letting themselves get moved or motivated by that, just allowing themselves to be in an observational place. Meanwhile, we see masculine is trying to come forth right now towards feminine with some offers, with some opportunities. Feminine's not moving towards those either. Feminine is just utilizing their powers of observation right now to be able to decide the best move forward. Masculine, we are also recognizing and seeing that you are also in this space and place right now where you are trying to put things forward to feminine. You are also feeling a lot of this chaotic energy around you today, potentially because you're also recognizing the fact that the feminine energy isn't necessarily opening up to you in this way. Feminine is not necessarily having this moment where they're moving in any kind of way, shape, or form, but we see here that for some of the masculine energy, this is just kind of a moment of reinforcing what you're trying to put forth to the feminine at this time. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our sun energy. This is a point of optimism. There is something here that, and again, I find this very intriguing considering we see so much of this like chaotic energy today. There is something here that feels like it's leading to some point of optimism. We like to see this card coming into play. For the feminine energy right now, feminine energy is effectively utilizing this moment or situation to help them determine what is going to be the path that is going to lead to the most happiness going forward. Feminine is effectively looking right now towards a lot of this energy that is at play around them at this time. And what is so important and valuable and what is so beautiful right now about the feminine journey is that feminine journey is not necessarily on a moment right now where they're thinking too much about what is in the best interest of outside energy, but more, again, that internal healing work. I will point out What was the lesson that we saw was occurring during the Venus in retrograde cycle for the feminine? Feminine's own ability and capacity to potentially overgive to circumstances and situations that were not necessarily in their best interest, things they felt a need to call to remedy, to heal, but that weren't necessarily places that gave forth back to them in kind. Feminine energy is now trying to operate in a level and degree of really focusing on their own internal sense of gratitude, on their own internal sense of joy. It is that path right now that the feminine is effectively trying to navigate and maintain, even throughout situations and circumstances that may be causing any kind of confusion right now, both externally and any kind of opportunities that are coming towards them right now from outside energy. And the masculine energy right now, feminine is just focusing right now on their own joy, on their own happiness. This is beautiful because this is showing the fact that feminine is effectively maintaining a lot of the work that they were trying to work through as it relates to that healing cycle. For the masculine energy right now, there is something that is very valuable that is occurring right now as it relates to the feminine energy. And this is becoming more of a problem space, because for the masculine energy right now, there's some kind of potential feeling of recognizing some energy of disorder around you at this time. Masculine is turning towards feminine, trying to bring forth some kind of offer and opportunity, recognizing the fact that this is a feminine energy that is in this point of uncertainty. They're in this point of observation. They're in this point of flux as they're trying to decide how to navigate forward from this point. Masculine, the issue and circumstance that's effectively happening right now is you are now recognizing to a certain level of degree that some level of your own happiness is connected to the feminine being able to move towards you now. This is something that has created a bit of a change here. And now one of the issues is the fact that the feminine energy is not necessarily open to you in this degree, is now creating potentially a source of anxiety. You are trying to come forward with the feminine right now because the feminine being able to make this choice towards you right now is where you identify your happiness would effectively be. Now, for the masculine and the feminine energy that is in partnership at this moment, this is effectively working right now in the partnered energies to determine what is going to lead to the most positive circumstances going forward. There's a lot of sense right now of trying to maintain a positive, upbeat approach, even through some difficult circumstances or situations. There's a moment right now of feeling the power of the unified energy and feeling like they can find that way to move forward that's going to lead to the best point of success. But there may be a lot of observation right now in terms of keeping one another in a point of positivity as you navigate some of these hurdles or some of these challenges. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Page of Pentacles in combination with our Three of Wands and its reversal. Masculine, we are seeing right now, if you're not in partnership, that one of the challenges that is effectively coming into play right now is the fact that you're trying to put forward with something. You're trying to bring forward something potentially towards the feminine right now, but you're not sure if it's being received. There may even be something for the masculines right now that's coming into play, which is some point of anxiety about feeling like you're not even sure if the feminine is receiving what you're trying to bring forth to them at this time. This is also creating a bit of a challenge or a hurdle right now for some of the masculine energy. For masculine that's effectively going through this right now, this is a bit of that hurdle and difficulty rising to the surface right now, because it's not just the fact of the feminine masculine putting something forward right now, but there's potentially even an anxiety coming into play about whether the feminine energy has seen or received it. Feminine right now, this is feeling some level of degree of frustration right now as it relates to masculine energy. This is feeling right now some point of frustration. Even feeling right now to a certain level or degree the frustration of having something come to you at this time, but feeling the point of frustration as it relates to the timing. There could even be something here where the feminine energy doesn't necessarily understand why the masculine energy is coming forth in this way at this time. There could be a lot of energy here of feeling like what took so long here. This is what we're also seeing right now that may be occurring, that is creating for the feminine energy a point of uncertainty and observation, not necessarily just moving towards the masculine right now, but really trying to ascertain what has been effectively occurring in the space in between when the feminine was effectively waiting for some kind of offer from the masculine versus when they're receiving it. Or For feminine energy, and this is new opportunities or new offers, there is still this moment of trepidation that you're seeing right now that requires some level or degree of clarification and deeper understanding. Clarification between these two cards right now is Three of Swords in its reversal. Heavy 3 energy today. There is this feeling of coming into a point of understanding, of healing, of allowing for some clarity to provide that point of healing. What we're really seeing right now for both the masculine and feminine energy is this is that moment of coming into, again, we saw some of this catharsis coming in yesterday in the cards. We are seeing it effectively continuing today. For the feminine energy, this is that moment that we are again seeing. Feminine energy is operating right now from a space and place of putting the priority on their own healing journey. When I say the feminine is prioritizing their own healing journey, the feminine is prioritizing their own healing journey. Even to the level and degree right now that if masculine is coming towards the feminine right now with something that they have been waiting for or for some period of time, feminine might not necessarily be in a space or place right now where they're effectively as open to it as they may have previously been, specifically because the feminine energy is now moving into this space of healing. They're trying to protect the healing that has come throughout this time. For feminine energy right now, that is why we see that there is something here where there is an openness in terms of potentially receiving these offers, but there isn't necessarily something about immediate acceptance. Feminine is trying to ascertain the timing in terms of what the masculine energy is bringing forth to them at this time. They feel like they don't necessarily have the full optics in what is bringing the masculine here at this time. Masculine, you are potentially seeing this right now in the feminine. Both, again, if this is new or old energy that you're trying to move towards right now, masculine in partnership, you are potentially recognizing some moment right now where the feminine energy is, again, working from a space of deep protection. If this is new energy that you're moving towards, you see the fact that the feminine energy is not as open and as available to you as you may have typically gotten used to. The feminine energy is working with a lot of caution right now to protect the heart space. Feminine energy is potentially also asking a lot of questions right now to try to build clarity in terms of what you're potentially offering them at this time. While for masculine energy that is trying to come back into partnership with old energy, this is potentially you recognizing the fact that the feminine energy isn't just in a space or place where they're willing to accept what you're putting forth to them, that there's going to need to be some clarification on the timing, on the circumstances, on what has effectively brought you to them at this time and in this way. Continue for masculine and feminine energy that is in partnership at this moment. This is just, again, continuing on the healing cycle. There's something here that is being very challenging and triggering today that is creating some blockages or hurdles. Masculine energy is putting a lot of practical application into play to try to assist a feminine energy in terms of the steps forward. And for all energies, this is something that is feeling like it is healing. Even the masculine energy that is coming towards the feminine in this way, there's some kind of almost mutual appreciation and respect for the fact that the feminine energy isn't ignoring your suggestions. It's the fact that they are weighing them, that there is this point of activation that this feminine energy will take. You're just trying to recognizing that they're trying to use their own powers of logic and intuition to try to help them navigate the best path forward going from here. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Three of Wands in its reversal and our Moon card and our Page of Pentacles. This is a bit of that hairy energy that we're seeing, because what is effectively happening at this time? Well, we're seeing here for both masculine and feminine energy, this is going to feel a little bit different, because what we're effectively seeing at this time is, again, for the unpartnered energies, masculine is trying to come towards feminine right now. They're trying to come forward feminine with offers, with opportunity, with new potential, energy. However, there's some kind of blockage here. For masculine energy, this blockage is either coming through in one or two different ways. This is potentially masculine. You're putting something forth to feminine right now, and you're even wondering if the feminine is receiving it. You're wondering if you've been blocked in some way, shape, or form right now, which is creating a point of understanding or lack of clarity to you as to what potentially is going on with that energy. For the other part of the masculine collective right now, this is potentially identifying that you're trying to go back to energy right now that is not necessarily what you're trying to offer, but they need some point of clarity in terms of what has been happening in the space or place in between. There's something here that needs to be cleared up. There's something here that needs some light shed on it. And the problem with the masculine energy right now that is experiencing this is potentially not something that you feel inclined to want to express. That there's something very specific about the fact that you're offering something to feminine that is very compartmentalized, that isn't taking in the full account around some situations and circumstances. For feminine energy that is effectively experiencing this right now, if you are not in partnership, this is also effectively happening at this time. That again, this is either old energy that is coming towards you at this time with some kind of offer that feels very grounded, and you are not necessarily just immediately jumping for it. You're not just jumping for it and taking it. You are taking the time to say, why now? Why now? What has brought you here? What has created this change? There's something here that the feminine energy is holding in terms of accepting offers because they are insisting upon that point of clarification. For the other part of the feminine energy right now, even new energy that is approaching the feminine right now, there is this point of trepidation that we're still seeing. You're still almost carrying the same energy over to new opportunities and offers, trying to get the full optics, to get the full understanding of where that energy is, because you do feel like there are some things here that you feel like you don't necessarily have the full optics on. Feminine energy isn't opening up right now. We already said, what was the feminine energy looking for yesterday? They were looking for masculine energy operating from a point of integrity. Even, most importantly, even beyond emotional balance, masculine energy coming towards the feminine right now with emotions is only going to cut it halfway is what we're seeing. There needs to be emotions mixed with integrity that is effectively happening here. While for the masculine and feminine energy right now that is in partnership or union, this is effectively a lot of that work that we're seeing to potentially get some points of clarification around some situations and circumstances that you don't necessarily feel like you have the full optics on. Today is potentially going to be a lot of work in terms of like moving through and getting to the bottom of some things that you don't necessarily feel clarity on. Masculine's putting a lot of like we're almost seeing your masculines like doing a lot of the heavy lifting on this today, putting on their like detective hat as they go forward from this point. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Seven of Swords in its reversal. There is something here that is very valuable and important about what is effectively occurring right now. Masculine and feminine energy that is not in partnership. For the feminine energy right now, what is the reason that the feminine energy is utilizing so much trepidation at this time? Why is feminine energy effectively taking this time to make sure that they have a full understanding of what is bringing masculine energy back to their door right now and wanting to get this level or degree of clarity and optics? Because feminine energy is committed to their healing journey, and they want to make sure they're not going back to situations and circumstances that may have caused any difficulty, that may have caused any harm, that may have caused any pain. We don't go back to the sword store for anything else but swords. This is what the feminine energy is observing right now. So they're seeing the fact of the masculine coming to them right now, and they're not necessarily in a space or place where they're willing to immediately just let them back in. Feminine energy is trying to ascertain what has potentially changed within this energy that is allowing them to come from a different perspective. Because if this is old energy, feminine did not want the masculine energy to come back in the same way. They wanted them to come back effectively changed in some degree, having learned some key valuable lessons. While for the masculine energy right now, that is effectively, and feminine is effectively doing this not just in the past energies and connections right now, they're doing them even in the new ones. because feminine energy is recognizing themes, characteristics, qualities, things that feel triggering to them, and they want to make sure that in any way, shape, or form, they're not returning back to situations or scenarios that cause some level or degree of difficulty in the first place. Feminine isn't in a moment right now or in a mood to return back to something that's just going to create further trauma. Masculine right now, this is feeling like a little bit more of a difficulty and a degree of hurdle, because this is a moment right now that is feeling very triggering for you right now, because what we're really seeing is the fact that for masculine right now, there's something effectively coming into play if you're not in partnership, where you are feeling like you are trying to potentially put something forth to the feminine right now. You're not even sure if they're receiving it. You're not even sure if they're receiving it for some of the masculine energy. There could just be a straight up point of confusion as to why there isn't some kind of communication coming back in this way. This is feeling like it is creating some moment or degree of frustration for you as you try to understand what is creating some of this blockage or hurdle. Masculine, you are also starting to feel very triggered at this time, because you are also recognizing, again, for some of the masculine energy, there's something here about the feminine energy moving in this capacity or degree of kind of shutting you out to a certain extent that is feeling like it is very triggering. It is feeling like it is it's reminding you of things. Masculine and feminine energy right now, I'm going to say what I said yesterday. Please be very cautious about not necessarily letting yourself come into a space or place or acting right now from a point of feeling triggered. Masculine, we are seeing here that there is more of a degree right now of wanting to potentially go back to situations that may not necessarily have been what was best for you. But what we're also seeing and identifying, and I think that this is what's really important here, is one of the reasons that masculine energy right now may be feeling a level or degree of not wanting to come forward to the feminine in terms of giving the feminine energy clarity about what has effectively been happening in the intervening time between now and the time that they're coming forward with offers right now, is because masculine energy feels like they may have to admit to the feminine that they went back to something, or they were doing something that was not necessarily something that was positive, that it was something that was negative. This could either be like old energy that they were involved with, something that there was a recognized understanding was not in their best interest, but that they effectively returned to in the intervening time. This is why we potentially see the fact that the masculine energy right now that's effectively in this moment, the feminine is effectively asking them for something, and they're very resistant to admit what was happening. They don't want to, because they almost recognize the fact that the feminine will see that this is potentially something that occurred. While for feminine right now, this is the feminine energy that may potentially already feel that this is the case. They already know it. The feminine energy almost is in a point right now. We're seeing here with this Two of Swords. The feminine energy almost knows it. They almost already know it. They're just waiting for the masculine to effectively come forth, because the important thing for the feminine is the fact that the masculine energy will just be open and honest about what has been occurring. For masculine and feminine energy, and even for the masculine and feminine energy that is coming into new partnership at this time, there's a lot of sussing out if this is something that occurred. There may be a lot of conversations that are happening today about what was happening in the past experiences, things of that nature, because feminine is being very cautious that they're not moving into a space or place where masculine is in a space or place where they're returning back to an unhealthy attachment while trying to move into a new one. Masculine and feminine energy not in partnership, in partnership at this moment. This is potentially a lot of discussion in terms of speaking around situations and circumstances that may be feeling very triggering at this time. For the masculine and the feminine energy right now, this is going to feel like a bit more of a challenging space in partnership, because there may be some feelings right now. And again, may not necessarily even be around some of the energy in the partnership, but some worries about some of the energy around the partnership, about going back to situations and circumstances that may have caused pain. There may even be a discussion point right now around them to try to ascertain if someone is effectively backsliding into something or moving into something that there's some kind of knowledge that it hasn't necessarily been beneficial to them in the past, therefore it might not be beneficial to them in the future. Masculine and feminine energy right now are trying to ascertain if this is a path that is leading forward or if this is a path that is leading backwards. The problem here for the energies that are in partnership is there is a lot of feeling right now about some unknown variables that are very hard to take into account right now. And a lot of the work today may be trying to get to the bottom of these as you proceed forward from this point. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Moon card in combination with our Four of Wands. So some situations and circumstances right now, even for the energy that is in partnership, about not necessarily feeling like you have all of the optics in this moment. There's a feeling right now of potentially not having full understanding of what's going on, potentially even a lot of work today to try to understand things better, but all for the sense of being able to build a better, more productive plan going forward, maintaining this and utilizing this right now to help you lay those plans as you go forward from this point to overcome any of the immediate present blockages. While for masculine and feminine energy that are not in partnership right now, this is a bit of that make or break moment that we're seeing. This is basically a bit of that make or break moment rising to the surface right now, because what we're really identifying is the fact that for the masculine and feminine energy that is not in partnership, feminine needs clarity. Feminine needs some clarity shed on situations and circumstances. They need this level of degree of clarity to be able to have a productive path going forward. Feminine could even be articulating this right now. Feminine is almost identifying right now that anything that isn't coming in right now that's providing them that level of degree of clarity isn't something that is going to lead to something that feels more promising. Feminine's just going to go in that direction for themselves, potentially moving away from anything that is feeling too strange or too suspicious or too confusing. Again, moving away from the confusion, but instead moving towards the spaces and places that are offering that clarity, that easement. This is the choice that the feminine's making right now. She's even offering the masculine right now an opportunity to create this sense of clarity. Feminine is effectively turning to the masculine right now and asking them to effectively shed some light on some things. Masculine, for your part, this is more of a point of resistance that we're seeing in partnership at this moment. This is that moment that we see that the masculine, you're holding on to some things that may be difficult or hard for you to speak about. It's something here that you are really not necessarily in a space or place where you want to be open to this degree. And at the same time, though, you are recognizing that this is a moment. As we saw, what did we see before? Same cards we saw yesterday for the masculine right now. This is either coming through as Fool energy or Magician energy. Are you going to move right now into a point of activation, creating that sense of clarity at this moment? Or are you just going to plumb off into the mystery? Are you just going to go off into the unknown? If you're going to just let this be that moment that you just continue to travel further into that unknown realm instead. This is where we see the masculine right now that's not in partnership at this moment. While for feminine energy, this is feminine basically asking for this level or degree of clarity from the masculine. For masculine and feminine energy that are in partnership at this moment, this is that moment of trying to get the clarity necessary, doing that work, getting the clarity so that you can build something that feels more productive going forward. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Two of Pentacles in its reversal. Being able to move right now into a space of integration. There's a feeling right now that we've been identifying about having or balancing two different priorities. This is what we're effectively seeing has been blocking a lot of the energies that are in separation. It is the feeling that there are the priorities of the relationship and then there's someone's personal priorities and never the twain shall meet. This may have even been something that caused any blockages as it relates to past circumstances or situations. This feeling of not necessarily coming into unification, but feeling like you had to balance one person's priorities versus the other. For masculine and feminine energy right now, this is that moment of really looking to the other energy and saying, can you integrate in this capacity? Do you have the capacity to do this? Feminine energy is effectively saying to the masculine, I need you to show me that I am the priority. I need you to show me that you are prioritizing the path that we are on versus whatever these mysterious things that you're moving into that I don't have the clarity is. And the way that the feminine energy is identifying a masculine that is willing to put the feminine in a point of priority is by them clearing up anything that feels like it is a gray area or something that they don't feel like they necessarily have all the optics on. Feminine is effectively saying you need to pick one or the other. You can either continue to live in this very strange world where nobody understands what's going on with you on a day-to-day business, in this space of privacy, basically solitude and privacy, or you can move into a point of clarity. You can build this sense or level of degree of clarity. You can create this clarity between us, and that is going to be the choice that the feminine is effectively making right now that is going to help them determine what to do as it relates to the masculine energy that is coming towards them at this point. Masculine, if you're not in partnership right now, you're effectively understanding that this is happening. Again, we see here that there's been a little bit of this energy right now for the masculine in feeling to a certain level or degree, you're kind of being dragged out into the light of day. You're being kind of brought out in this way that it's requiring you right now to and for some of you right now, this is feeling like a bit of a forced healing journey, which is kind of a point of frustration, because effectively masculine, you're also recognizing that this opportunity is happening right now. That there's something here where there is a positive path that is leading you back towards the feminine at this point, or there's even an opportunity towards the feminine at this time, but you recognize and understand that it's going to require you to be completely in the light of day. It's going to require you to be completely open. It's going to require you to be completely honest. For some of the masculine energy, that is almost feeling right now, and this is where we see those paths falling into two different spaces. This is almost feeling right now like it is a bridge too far. It is feeling like that right now that it is potentially a bridge too far. For some of the masculine energy, this is potentially you prioritizing that sense of privacy and solitude, moving off more in that fool journey that we saw. While for the other part of the masculine collective right now, this is that potential point of acceptance. This is potentially that moment that you're accepting and you're allowing this to happen to a certain degree, and you're just kind of moving into that space of easement. Continuing to get clarification for masculine and feminine energy that is in partnership, this is going to be a lot easier because this is effectively working in partnership at this time to be able to unify your goals so that you can set that easement of path going forward. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Sun card in combination with our Three of Swords in its reversal. We love seeing these two cards in combination today because while we do see that there is some hairy energy that we're starting our day off with, there are some feelings of confusion that need to be navigated or mitigated. We see both energies trying to do that as effectively as possible, all for the sake of moving in a point of view of keeping a level of degree of positivity and working and focusing on your healing. Masculine and feminine energy in partnership right now, this is that joint effort that we see is occurring. Masculine and feminine energy right now that is not in partnership, this is also what is happening. The feminine is effectively working on healing their heart space. Masculine, this is potentially you coming towards feminine at this time, trying to do what is necessary to heal that heart space. Again, a lot of this dual work that is occurring. May I please have one card to clarify? Four of Swords. Some moment of rest that might be necessary in this. We keep seeing this slowing down that's occurring. We keep seeing this slowing down. There's something here that is almost requiring a level or degree of patience or dormancy that's effectively happening right now. We're seeing this very clearly with the feminine. They're in their Two of Swords. Feminine energy is not feeling. Feminine energy is looking right now and not letting themselves move from a space of reactivity. Feminine energy is actually like when they're feeling that point of healing right now, they're actually slowing down even further. Feminine energy is committed to taking all the time they need to concentrate on their healing. That's all feminine is doing. And feminine may even be articulating to the masculine right now that is coming towards them with any sense of confusion as to why they're not responding or why they're not moving at the speed that the masculine would desire. This is potentially feminine having to assert to the masculine and saying, I'm going to take as long as necessary until I feel comfortable and not a moment before. For the masculine energy that is effectively experiencing this right now, This is feeling a lot more painful because this is effectively making you feel to a certain extent like this is something that feels like it is dormant. But it's not necessarily a dormancy that you are propitiating, because we see here that the masculine wants to put more practical application into things right now. Masculine energy wants to give forth to this feminine right now. Masculine energy is potentially even feeling right now that whatever this feminine energy that they're trying to move towards right now is going to be a lot of their source of joy at this point. That is why there is this commitment to either, again, if this is a past connection, wanting to do what is necessary to heal the connection, or if this is a new connection, doing everything possible to express to the new connection that they themselves have healed. That they're not going to be in a space or place of repeating those past mistakes that the feminine energy may be holding on to right now that is creating this blockage point. For masculine energy right now, this is feeling more like something that feels very difficult because it is feeling like you're just in this point of stasis. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is in partnership, this is enjoying that point of stasis. There's something here that today, even while there may be some chaos coming into play, there is something here that comes through right now about allowing each other some peace or creating some sense of space, potentially even planning right now some point of easement and allowing that to be something that you give one another because you're recognizing that there's some healing that is occurring in that point of rest and restoration. Continuing to get clarification right now on these cards between our Three of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Seven of Swords. So right now, a point of healing that is effectively coming into play. And this is very important about this healing journey that we're seeing here, because this healing journey isn't just a healing journey. It is a moment that one is potentially feeling faced. And this is the tricky part, with going back to some situations and circumstances that have effectively only caused pain, or paying that attention in terms of following that path of healing. I have to warn you guys today, this could be very triggering today, especially if you have anything that you feel that you have an unhealthy connection to in terms of how you work through coping mechanisms. I would be very cautious today in terms of how you're feeling. Make sure you're navigating those spaces and places from a point of healing today, because this is some triggering energy to see occurring in the midst of healing here. There's something right now, even for especially for the masculine energy right now. Feminine energy, this might be a bit easier today, but for masculine, or those are really very aligned with their masculine energy, you may be feeling a lot of triggers right now to go back to situations and circumstances that you may not necessarily know are beneficial to your healing journey. For some of you right now, this is doing a lot of work of trying to heal the past as well, is what we're really seeing. For masculine particularly right now, this could be a moment of understanding in terms of why things are the way they are where you left them. This is that point, as we saw, of recognition in terms of deeper understanding of the masculine coming into understanding the feminine journey. Understanding the true weight of the pain that you may have caused some of the feminine in the past. This is some of the masculine energy taking some level of degree of accountability for that right now, helping that on your own healing journey. While for feminine, this is a commitment not to go back to things that cause that pain. You see here why we have a bit of this blockage right now. We've got one energy understanding the pain that is being caused, trying to remedy it. The other energy is trying to be committed not to repeat the same mistakes. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with the Star in its reversal. Now, especially right now for the unpartnered energies, this is going to feel very difficult. Because if these are situations and circumstances, particularly from energy returning from the past, this is why we see that time has had an impact on what is being offered right now. Because in the intervening time between what is being pro-offered right now to feminine versus where feminine finds themselves, feminine is now in a moment where it's not just about accepting an offer or opportunity. It's having to navigate the amount of time that has effectively occurred between when they desire to have something coming back to them right now versus when it is arriving. Having to feel that is almost adding an additional weight to the feminine right now, because feminine is recognizing or feeling the frustration of being underseen, underappreciated. That is why we see feminine is effectively saying, why now? Why now? Why not then? Needing and requiring that level of degree of clarity. Feminine is working really hard right now in observing the situations and circumstances that effectively created those moments, because feminine is still on their healing path. Now, for the feminine energy that is potentially in communication or trying to move through separation with past energy, this is a bit of the crux right now. It's not just as easy as allowing this energy back in. There needs to be some point of remediation in terms of explaining what has happened in the time intervening. For mass and for new energy, even for energy of feminine right now that is coming into new partnership, being in this vibration is still making you very resistant to allow new energy in, because you're still being very cautious and careful not to repeat the cycles of the past. Now, for masculine energy that is not in partnership right now, this is potentially you recognizing this. This is why you are getting in better alignment with your feminine energy, because again, you're either seeing this from the past energy. You're recognizing that there needs to be some accountability in terms of where you left things in order for there to be a productive path forward. For masculine energy that's moving into new partnership with feminine energy, you are, as I said, still experiencing the weight of some of these circumstances or situations. It's almost like you've left one, you can't leave it. You have to confront it. We keep seeing this fact with the masculines coming through. It's like you can't move away from it right now. You're just facing it everywhere you go. This is why the masculine energy is now in a moment that you are having to take some level or degree of accountability right now, in terms of if this was not trauma that you enacted on this particular feminine, it's certainly the type of energy that you understand and recognize. You can even give some clarity on it. And it is building your own ability to understand your own need to heal at this time, which is again leading to a point of either further travel or transformation, coming into a sense of moving back through, trying to continue to muddle on right now, or allowing that point of clarity, potentially even helping the feminine energy that you found in this space go through their own healing journey. You're effectively having, it's like the healing journey is there to assist with or not. There's accountability coming either from the past or from the present. And masculine, you're now in this vibration, and this is why we're seeing that this is feeling a moment that kind of could, again, feel a little frustrating right now, because you may not necessarily know how to experience, like what to do with it. For masculine and feminine energy that is in partnership at this moment, this is potentially the masculine having to lend support to a feminine that is feeling very triggered at this time. There's something about the feminine energy right now, particularly, that is feeling deeply triggered from past circumstances or situations, may even be feeling like something around that, and it is requiring a lot of healing. Masculine is effectively potentially having to come to support with the feminine energy to help them through some points and spaces of vulnerability. We'll also point out right now that the feminine is effectively still healing from some issues or circumstances that may have happened with this masculine over the last few days, that is making them feel a little bit less open, a little bit less vulnerable. And this is also something that is needing to be related and worked through. But we do see that masculine's trying to help in that degree. Continuing to get clarity on these points right now between our Seven of Swords in combination with our Two of Pentacles in its reversal. So, moving right now in a space or place of, again, a confirmation or a consistency, a desire not to go back to situations and circumstances that have caused any pain or difficulty, but recognizing that that is going to require an alignment in terms of priorities at this time. For both masculine and feminine energy right now, this is a lot of the work that we see is effectively occurring. For masculine and feminine energy in partnership at this time, there is a feeling right now of having to come into alignment, allowing this to be a moment of setting that priority and purpose with a commitment or an observation about some situations and circumstances from the past that may have caused pain. I'm going to warn again, if you have any connection right now to anything that doesn't feel like it is positive for you right now, making sure that you don't fall back into non-helpful coping mechanisms is going to be very important today. This may be a moment of reaffirming your own commitment not to do so. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is not in partnership. This is that moment that is building a sense of absolute clarity at this time, because this is effectively the masculine and the feminine having to make a decision right now. Feminine is looking to masculine and is saying, I need the clarity. Feminine's even looking at masculine right now and asking if there's too much mystery, if there's too many question marks. Feminine's effectively just moving away from it. Feminine's feeling at a point right now where feminine is not in a space or place potentially where they want to be working through something, where they don't necessarily feel like they have all the optics. Feminine is effectively moving right now from a space of clarity. They want to see what's effectively happening. For the feminine that's going through this right now, this is potentially that moment, because feminine is effectively recognizing that anything that feels like it doesn't provide full clarity is the thing that caused the pain, is the thing that caused the injury, is the situation and circumstance from the past that they don't want to return to. This is why the feminine energy is saying, I need that clarity. Because if the masculine cannot provide it, then the feminine is looking at anything that they don't feel makes sense. And they're saying that the lack of making sense is all the clarity they need, that is the situation that they want to typically avoid. And that is moving them forward in terms of choosing their priority at this time. While for masculine energy that is effectively experiencing this right now, this is potentially feeling like this moment is one that you are experiencing and understanding right now. You are recognizing, you're getting a deeper understanding of the pain that you may have left or caused from a past situation or circumstance. This is either one that you're immediately experiencing with the energy you're trying to go back to at this time and seeing like the full pain that you have effectively expressed on this energy, or this is you trying to move into new partnership energy and still finding it there. It's still there. It's already there. And this is also a moment right now that feels like you need to effectively decide right now if this is something that is going to be a jumping off point, moving back further, continuing forward, not sure what you're going to find as you go forward from this point, or if you're going to bring that clarity here. If this is something that you're willing to come forward with, if this is something that you're willing to allow to be that breakthrough moment in terms of being open, being honest, coming into that space and place. This is that back and forth energy that we're seeing. Masculine's either going in one or two different directions. Same thing that we saw yesterday. Fool or magician. Fool or magician. May I please have one card to clarify? Four of Pentacles. More of this stillness. Nobody's making a decision today. Nobody's making a decision today. Everybody's just kind of holding their ground to a certain extent, right? Masculine, you're kind of sitting here. This is kind of wacky. Masculine's like sitting there and going, well, here, no, masculine. I'm sorry, I mean that in a nice way. Masculine's effectively sitting there going, maybe if I just don't choose, maybe feminine will change their mind. Maybe if I just don't do anything, feminine will change their mind. Masculine's just like, I'm just going to stay. Like, remember how I described yesterday the masculine, like going into a cave and like going into the shell to transform? Masculine's like, maybe if I just stay here, everything will be fine. This is masculine. There's not a lot of movement today on this, folks. I hate to break it to you, but it's going to be a little bit of a still day today, is what we're really seeing, because the masculine energy is I am telling you, masculine, you feel like you didn't want to make this choice is what we're seeing. Masculine energy is being very resistant around this right now. You're holding on. You're just holding on so that you don't effectively need to make this choice. Feminine energy is seeing, I gotta say though, if you're doing that masculine, feminine energy is just watching you do that right now. Feminine energy is just watching you do it. And they see it. And that's the thing. They see it. They see that you're doing it. And that in itself is exactly why feminine is again in the same spot that they were before, which is again, and I said this yesterday, masculine. What did I say yesterday? Feminine energy is taking the hesitancy as all the confirmation that they need, right? Like, feminine energy is taking it almost as the confirmation and being like, oh, okay. Like, thank you for the clarity. Like, that was what I needed to see. Feminine energy is effectively continuing to also hold that position of not moving in a state of activity. For masculine and feminine energy right now, that is in partnership. This is, again, maintaining and holding on to the partnership as the priority. That the decision that is moving forward is recognizing that the partnership is what you are working to hold on to. That is the prioritization point. That is the point of clarity. And anything that you can do around that to build more clarity, and anything, again, I gotta stress, for a lot of this partnered energy, if there's outside situations or scenarios with outside energy that's causing too much disruption right now, this could be a moment of them kind of making the potential choice just to like not move towards it anymore. Just experiencing and feeling a moment of saying like, we're just going to kind of hold on to the partnership and like let that play out to a certain extent, because there's some kind of anxiety of commitment of going back into something that may not necessarily be positive. Continuing to get clarity on these. So it's like clarity is either received, clarity is found, or movement is made to like just not move back into something that isn't providing that clarity. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Four of Swords in combination with our Star card in its reversal. Now, this is going to feel very difficult for the feminine. I gotta say, for the feminine right now, feminine's kind of reaching a little bit of an exhaustion point. Feminine energy is in a moment right now where they may need some rest. There may be a lot of need for rest today, feminine. Make sure that you're giving yourself the time that you need. Drink your water. Please make sure you're drinking your water today, feminine, because what we're really effectively seeing right now is some feelings right now of feminine feeling underseen, undervalued, underappreciated. There could even be some outside situations around the feminine, potentially with family, friends, something that is creating this feeling for the feminine that is effectively needing to be navigated right now with the masculine if you are in partnership. Or feeling like some of the chaos around you right now, feminine, is effectively taking their toll. So feminine needs to recharge their battery today, especially in partnership. Sips water immediately. Masculine, if you have a feminine around you today, you're probably just seeing this in them. You're probably just seeing the fact that the feminine energy is like running on fumes right now. But you're just doing, again, what we appreciate again is for the masculine and feminine energy that's in partnership. You're probably just doing everything you can to like help them through that, giving them what they need, what we like about that. And even to the point of like sacrificing some of the planning ahead right now to potentially provide that to the feminine, and taking on some of the lion's share of planning right now for the sake of a feminine that potentially needs this level of degree of rest. While for masculine and feminine energy that is not in partnership right now, this is a lot different. This is a lot different, because what we're effectively seeing at this time is the masculine is like spinning out your wheels right now on why this feminine isn't communicating with you. And the reason the feminine isn't communicating is sis is tired. Sis is tired. I just need to stress that right now to any masculine who's like spinning their wheels. If you sent some communication to feminine and you didn't get anything back, you're like, what's happening? Sis is tired. She's tired is what we're seeing here. And she's also trying to like, again, she's tired. I got to stress though, she's tired of games. Sis is tired of games. Sis is tired of anything that feels like it doesn't make a lot of sense or it's too confusing. Sis wants just like total transparency, clarity, lay it down, say it how it is. And if you're creating anything that feels like even like robustly complicated right now for this energy, like feminine energy is just like, not my circus, not my monkeys. I don't have time for this. I need a nap. This is what feminine's really saying right now, an emotional, spiritual nap, because there's some areas right now where feminine doesn't feel like she's being fully seen, appreciated, or valued. She's exhausted. Now, masculine energy that's seeing this right now, this is a moment that is potentially feeling very frustrated, because what we're really seeing is the fact that feminine energy, you're feeling that point of disconnect from them, and it's taking a toll on you. It's taking a toll on you, almost like energetically. Masculine energy right now, there could even be some masculine energy right now that is like recognizing or realigning their connection with some feminine, because there's something here about feeling some kind of level or degree of like spiritual or emotional exhaustion because you're not in connection with some type of energy right now. And could be feeling like a deep, challenging space, because we're seeing here that the masculine is also potentially at a point of experiencing some level of grief right now because of the separation with feminine energy. But what we also appreciate is for the masculine energy that's doing this work right now, there is this moment that you are recognizing your own potential need again to recalibrate, to accommodate. There's something here that we're seeing that, again, I need to stress. What did I say about the masculine kind of going into that shell and transforming? This is a moment that is leading to potential transformation for the masculine. There's an opportunity right now for masculine that's either going to reach a point of exhaustion, trying to reach this energy and move on, hence that moon energy, or allowing this to be something that you're ready to accommodate, you're ready to make changes. But again, you're very resistant to this change. I cannot stress this right now. The masculine energy is being put in a situation or circumstance where on some fundamental level, they are being forced to change spiritually or energetically right now. And it is something that is very difficult for the masculine energy to move into at this state. It is requiring a bit of rest for them as well. So a lot of rest energy coming into play here for everybody. For everybody. May I please get one card to clarify? Oh my goodness. This is rest. Oh, Jesus. This is rest that it's not rest. It's not rest. It's not rest. What is this? This isn't rest. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, this isn't rest. It's not rest, because this is the problem around it right now. There's something right now that's happening right now with these energies that it's like even when there's rest, there's not rest. Even when there's rest, there's not rest. There's still some kind of still some kind of communication here. Everybody needs to start meditating, getting into like their center right now, because what we're really seeing here is like, this is one of these moments that we're seeing that is like creating a space or place where it's like even in points of stillness right now, there's some kind of feeling or anxiety in terms of feeling like there's still a lot of like communication or processing that's happening to a certain degree. What we're really seeing here right now is, again, feminine energy is at a point right now of feeling this point of exhaustion, moving into a space right now of rest. But it's also like something here where it's like, and I feel like the rest might not necessarily even feel like it is the most productive rest, because feminine energy is doing a lot of like work right now internally in terms of trying to plan, trying to process, trying to like navigate a lot of these thoughts that are effectively coming into play right now. Feminine energy is almost like taking this time right now. Like I said, this is a moment that's requiring a lot of planning right now for the feminine, because there's blockages here. There's frustrations. So this is giving a lot of energy that's very interesting, because what we're really seeing that's happening at this moment is this is feminine energy allowing this point of rest to allow for this point of new inspiration, of new calibration. It's almost like immediately finding that breakthrough and those hurdles of productivity through this point of giving themselves an opportunity of coming into a state of easement. Masculine energy, not in partnership right now, this is feeling a bit more difficult, because what we're really seeing here right now is the fact that there's something coming into play right now about the fact that, like, you know, you're working through some situations and circumstances right now where you are trying to come into a state of rest. But the problem is again, this isn't necessarily a rest that feels productive, because even here we see that there is some kind of need in terms of trying to like figure out how to communicate with this feminine, how to figure out how to go forward from this point. Right? This is that moment right now for the masculine that could potentially be feeling like you're not necessarily getting that enjoyment from rest, because even when you're at rest, your mind is still very active. It's still trying to figure out the best point forward. So this could be a little bit frustrating right now, because we are seeing here that it is rest that is either going to feel very productive at this moment because it's creating a lot of inspiration and ideas, or it could start to feel very exhausting because that rest doesn't necessarily feel like it is rest. It feels like it is even more activity when you're resting, depending on how you are utilizing that. For masculine and feminine energy that is in partnership right now, this is that joint energy that we are seeing that is effectively occurring right now, about allowing some situations and circumstances to create a sense of easement, and masculine potentially even recognizing that there is something here about allowing the feminine energy to rest so that there can be a lot more activity beyond today. There's almost something here about like having a lot of plans and circumstances that are coming up for feminine right now, that masculine may even be like trying to leave some space for rest for the feminine so that they can move forward together in this, in like the most like, you know, functional way possible, because there's a lot of activity here. So this is potentially in partnership, could potentially be right now rest prior to a lot of activity occurring. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between the Star and its reversal in combination with our Four of Pentacles. So for masculine and feminine energy right now, for all energies, today is like a day of conservation. Like today is really a day of conservation of energy is what we're seeing, both in and out of partnership at this moment. Conservation of energy is going to be very key, and it's going to be kind of necessary right now for the feminine energy, right? It's like really important right now for the feminine energy to effectively have this time right now, because there's something here about the feminine needing, like doing like a little bit of like recharging the battery up for like a lot of activity that's about to kind of set into play over the next few days. While for masculine, if you're in partnership right now, you're potentially creating and providing the space for the feminine, recognizing that this is occurring. Masculine and feminine energy not in partnership right now, this is much more of a doozy, because what we're effectively seeing right now is feminine energy is just kind of at a point where they are feeling underseen, undervalued. They do not feel like they can be vulnerable to masculine right now. Whatever these circumstances at play right now, we're back to kind of where we started before the Venus in retrograde. Feminine energy is feeling that anxiety about being open and vulnerable to masculine. It is not from a lack of desire to do so. It is based on past experiences that they're still trying to work through healing. Feminine energy is effectively seeing some things right now around masculine. Even if the masculine is approaching them right now, they feel like they don't necessarily have the full clarity. Either new or old connections right now. And feminine energy is utilizing that to hold on to their own energy today as they try to get to the bottom of things. But we're not even seeing here that this is a feminine that's trying to get to the bottom of things. They're just kind of looking at things and saying, either come clear, come clear, be honest, be open, or don't come at all. Masculine, you're effectively seeing this right now, and this is the point that is creating such a frustration level to you, because you're recognizing right now you are very resistant to change, and all of the feminine energy around you right now is in the same capacity. It potentially feels like you can't necessarily get a foot in the door right now, because all of the feminine energy that's potentially around you right now is like not having it. There's a transformation that needs to occur. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through. Oh my goodness. Unhealed karmic connections. Unhealed karmic connections. This is such a frustrating unhealed karmic connection. Can I just tell you right now? Because we have reached an impasse in the unhealed karmic connection here. If it's an unhealed karmic connection. Why? We have an energy that is feeling too vulnerable to open up to the other energy, and we have the other energy that needs to change in order to come into be able to have that energy be vulnerable, and the other energy is completely resistant to do so. What happens when an impenetrable force meets an immovable object? We are effectively seeing that right now karmically taking place in these connections that are in separation right now. This is literally an impenetrable force meeting an unstoppable object. We are like at this, like today is like one of these. It's literally just two energies that are one another, and one is completely rigid beyond any, like completely rigid, and the other one is refusing to allow any access here. This I have to stress here, this is also how we heal the connection. This is either, again, a karmic connection that will be healed through transformation, or it will be let go. That is effectively what we're seeing here. It's either going to be healed or it's going to be released. Feminine is at a point where feminine is recognizing that, and it's like one or the other. Feminine energy is also very much in the same vibration that they were in yesterday, which is like, I don't care which way you fall. Masculine, you're kind of seeing this right now in the feminine energy. And it is, again, a moment that you are moving off, moving forward, not sure what's going to happen as you break the connection, or allowing this to be that point of transformation. For energy right now that is in partnership, this is dealing potentially, like I said, more of the continuation that we've been seeing over the last few days. A recognition of some outside energy beyond the connection that is causing some grief, that's causing some frustration. It's not necessarily something that is bothering the partnerships themselves, though we are seeing right now for the feminine, this is having more of a toll on them in terms of what some of these unhealed karmic energies there are. Be they friends, family, old connections, friendships that need some point of repair. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Final card for today's spread between our 8 of Wands in combination with 6 of Cups in its reversal. So there's communication happening today around the unhealed karmic connections. There's communication in one shape or form happening around the karmic connections. For masculine and feminine energy that is not in partnership, there's some kind of communication that's happening right now in some shape or form. This is either like the internal this like internal communication that you're providing to these things to try to come into a space of resolution, or it's very tangible, or there is communication that's actively happening. Again, this is also that point that is showing either a make or break point in terms of moving towards those to be able to heal them, or moving away from them, recognizing that they can't be healed. For masculine and feminine energy that are in partnership, this is potentially a lot of discussion about some of those outside unhealed karmic connections that need that work. May I please have one card to clarify? Got to be an easier way to do this. We like this. This is good. This is productive. This is trying to come into a state of easement. There's a point right now that's basically like there has got to be an easier way to do this. This is coming through. We're almost seeing a lot of energy here that feels like a stalemate, and everyone's just kind of being like, there's got to be a truce here. There's got to be a way to like make this easier. For the masculine and feminine energy right now that are working through some of this energy of separation, again, this is that moment that is either allowing for a point of transformation or a point of movement away. So again, recognizing these situations and circumstances, coming into a state of easement. Feminine energy is effectively letting go of anything that they're not getting the full optics on right now. Specifically, because feminine energy wants things to be easier. Feminine energy recognizes that things don't necessarily need to be this difficult. Masculine, for your part right now, there's a moment that you are recognizing that there's something here that could be made easier, but it's going to require a lot more communication. This could potentially even have something to do with what needs to be transformed right now. Because again, the solution right now for the masculine energy that's going through this right now with the feminine is full communication or departure. Bottom of the deck on this card that's written today is the Fool in its reversal. Everybody's taking a leap of faith right now. There's a leap of faith required in all of this. The importance and value right now, and again, I think that this needs to be stressed, is not to let the past stop you from moving forward right now. Allow it to inform you as you proceed forward. I'm going to say that again. Don't let it become a stoppage point. Don't let it become a blockage as we see it's happening here today. Allow it to be a point of observation that allows you to make the different choices. Taking that leap of faith, but with the knowledge and the experience to understand the way that it is going to move. recognizing that there's always going to be an unknown variable, there's always going to be a risk, there's always going to be a chance, but also like allowing your past experience to shape and help you move through that. That shows the fact that you've learned the value of the lessons that needed to be learned in the past to help navigate the way. For masculine, this is again trying to provide a point of education and understanding what needs to be changed or mended. For feminine, this is coming through right now in a space of holding on to your own vulnerability, but also like using it to inform how you proceed. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it with me. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. Just a reminder that if you book a reading on my website, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading and you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you would like to have that reading. Most importantly, though, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a personal reading. I will never PM you. I will never DM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I want to thank you guys so much for being here with me today and sharing with me in these readings. And we will do this again tomorrow.